Trials are the burning up of our personal impurities. I found a quote from a man that I thought was really hit this on the head. Everything that I've learned in life has been learned through affliction and not through happiness. Remember, there is a difference between joy and happiness. When James says, count it all joy, he doesn't mean that we're going to wake up one morning under trials and tribulations and be like, la, da, 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 da. Cloud nine. James does not mean that. But oftentimes we learn lessons through adversity that are lessons that need to be learned. And we become wiser, better, stronger individuals because of it. It's knowing that allows us, it's knowing the outcome, knowing what James says, knowing the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. It's knowing that. It's knowing the outcome. It's knowing that it's temporary that will allow us to accept and embrace the hardships. Because let's face it, life stinks. But it will allow us to accept and embrace them because we know, we have a knowledge of what God has in mind. Thirdly, ask. What does Jesus say? Ask and you will receive. James expands on this in verse 5. James tells us very specifically in the context of trials what it is that we are to ask for. And this builds on knowing. It builds on our knowledge. If any of you lacks wisdom, wisdom, friends, is the knowledge of God. Let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. If you're going through a trial, a difficult time in your life, physically or spiritually, ask of God. Ask of God, he will give you knowledge. Now, there's criteria there that we're not going to go into. Read it. Read that paragraph, verses 5 through 8. Read that paragraph and God will tell you the strings that are attached. He will give you as he gives to all men liberally, but there are conditions. That having been said, wisdom is housed in the mind of our great God. There is no one wiser, no one more knowledgeable than God who created everything. We do not learn wisdom. We do not learn it. Wisdom, knowledge we learn. Wisdom is not learned. We can only grasp what God gives us as far as wisdom. Remember Solomon. Solomon didn't learn wisdom. It was a gift from God. You and I can't learn wisdom. It is a gift from God. We have to ask for that gift. And we have to accept it on his terms. Wisdom has been defined as looking at the world through God's eyes. Seeing what God sees. Understanding what God understands. I think that's a pretty good definition of wisdom. Welcome to Greek class. Steadfastness. I love the Greek language. I love to look back because it gives us a little bit more insight. James says that we should be steadfast. He says the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. This is the whole thing of trials. The whole idea behind trials is it's going to produce a steadfastness. Some of your translations may render it a little bit differently, a little different wording. But the word that is translated steadfastness, or in some translations differently, I believe endures, maybe is the way the King James Version renders it. It's a combination of two Greek words. Usually we have word-for-word translation, but in this case, they've taken two Greek words and rolled it into one. Hupo means under. Meno means to abide or remain. Those are the two Greek words. Now, interestingly enough, and this is what piques my interest, you have to understand the time period in which James is writing to us. And James is encouraging the Christian to hupomeno, to remain under our burdens, to remain under our burdens and willingly accept the load God places, or in some cases, allow Satan to place on us. Plodding along, waiting until the master lifts the load from our shoulders. Now that term, to remain under, if you're in English, or if you're Greek, you would say hupomeno, was a term that was used in James's day. It was a term used to refer to a pack animal, that they were to remain under their load, to remain under their load until the end of the journey. When the Apostle Paul did missionary journeys, in all likelihood, the Bible doesn't tell us this for sure, but in all likelihood, Paul had a pack animal, probably a donkey, because Jews did not use mules. Mules were to breed mules was a violation of the Old Testament law. So probably the Apostle Paul used donkeys. And that to remain under the load was a term that was used to describe a pack animal. Now, what do we expect when we get through trials? We expect to be blessed, blessed, blessed. But is that enough? Everyone understands the value of exercise. But at the end of a good workout, I don't know about you, the older I get, the worse it gets. At the end of the day on the roofing crew, I'm stiff and sore.